Tonight on Duck TV Evening News, the conflict between GTFs and the university continues. Plus, university students reserve the first Peabody Award for a YouTube video. And one Eugene High School is giving students incentives to come to class. All this and more tonight on Duck TV Evening News. Good evening and welcome to Duck TV News. I'm Victoria Ganal.
And I'm Avanitza de Primavera. As graduation looms over seniors at the UO, campus is buzzing with students discussing their post-grad plans. However, not every student lines up their dream job right after graduation. Some students have an idea of what they want, they just haven't found the perfect opportunity. The Career Center is a great starting point for many students searching for jobs. One of their main spring events, the Career Insight Fair, hopes to provide an interactive experience which features advice from professionals in various industries. You won't want to miss this great opportunity on May 14th to sign up online to register for this event. Be sure to tune in next week on Duck TV News as we take a look at students with non-traditional post-grad plans. Some seniors might plan on staying at the University of Oregon as a GTF next year, but some current GTFs might suggest otherwise. The Graduate Teaching Fellows Federation has recently been in negotiation with the university administration about making adjustments to their contracts. On April 25th, the administration presented a counterproposal that included a 2% increase of minimum salaries in 2004. This offer has been met with dissatisfaction from the GTFs after they asked for an increase in base pay that was almost 3 times the university's offer.
We really need a 6% raise in the next 2 years to keep closing that gap between what the average GTF makes and what the university says you need to live. And that we have the power and the strength to, if it were necessary, to have a strike. Now, nobody wants a strike. We can do this. So this is a viable threat.
The GTFF hopes to continue actions such as the rally that was held in front of Johnson Hall in order to protest the counteroffer and to bring more attention to the issue in the coming months.
A big Cascadia earthquake is expected to hit the Northwest. We don't know when or where this earthquake will strike, but the University of Oregon is working against the clock to make the vital safety and seismic upgrades to historical buildings on campus. These seismic upgrades are not cheap, but they will ensure safety for our students and preserve the good history of our university. Sometimes when the ground shakes under our feet, it's not an earthquake, it's a loud party. Surrounding the residents of University of Oregon are calling in unruly gatherings. But the city of Eugene doesn't always have time to intervene. Jesse Foster has the story.
Parties can be a constant source of agitation for those in charge. The Good Neighbor Project is one of many programs that hopes to foster a safer and more positive environment for party goers, neighbors, and the university. One of the program's goals is to remind students that they are part of a larger community. In the beginning of the school year, administrators meet with students and provide educational pamphlets about how to have respectful parties.
As a university, we believe in education, and so we believe that students will respond to educational kinds of messages.
Monitoring parties has become too time-consuming for the Eugene Police Department. If police contact does occur, the city and university releases a letter to the tenant informing them their landlord will be notified.
What we're interested in is making sure that people are safe and making sure that parties are under control and that nobody gets hurt, and that also, that the neighbors are not disrupted in ways that are completely unwarranted.
The Office of the Dean of Students hopes that kids will enjoy their college experience, but be aware of the potential consequences. For Duck TV News, I'm Jessie Foster.
For more information, contact the Office of the Dean of Students.
Last year, 26% of high school students in the Eugene School District were chronically absent. Dalton Hawkins, a senior at Churchill High School, explains why his high school is one of many in Eugene with a low attendance and unmotivated students.
We go on, more kids get into classes because we can't afford more teachers. And I can see it going downhill just because there's going to be less classes offered, more students in class, and it's just going to be more stressful for those that can't handle it. And I've been in classes where only half the class is there, and it's unacceptable for public education to have so many kids missing class.
This spring trimester, Churchill High School installed a new attendance policy and hopes to motivate their student body to attend all classes. The policy gives students a card to enter in a raffle to win gift certificates to local restaurants or coffee shops when they have good attendance. School officials and students like the policy because it doesn't call for stricter rules, it just gives students an incentive.
The design process is underway for a new residence hall building. Although the design has not yet been approved, architecture students and RAs are trying to get involved with the design process. A new residential hall is planned to be constructed behind the Global Scholars Hall in the next couple of years. Francisco Toledo, an RA and architecture student, said it would be a good idea to follow RAs and architecture students to be involved in the design process because the RAs are the ones who really understand the space. The new dorms are the opportunity to expose architecture students to the design process. Toledo said architecture students want to make the living space as sustainable as possible. The residence hall design will aim to create a positive living experience for the students it houses.
Students aren't just making plans for a new dorm, they're also producing nationally recognized videos. 2 University of Oregon students have won a Peabody Award for a YouTube video called A Needed Response. The creators Samantha Stendhal and Aaron Blanton have been asked to do over 20 interviews since the video went viral, including one with CNN.
We were not expecting to actually win an award, but we did. So that was a really, really surprising moment. And the director of the Peabodys actually contacted us personally, Aaron Blanton and myself, and told us that we were the first viral video to win a Peabody Award.
The film students created the video in response to the Steubenville rape trials. The 25-second video has received national attention and has more than 7 million views. The students will be receiving their award in New York City this month.
This week is International Week at the U of O. We attended an event put on by the Muslim Student Association to find out why international awareness is so important on campus.
In the past 3 years, over 100,000 Syrians lost their lives in the country's growing civil conflict. Here at the University of Oregon, students are making a difference from thousands of miles away. Students and community members gathered in Gerlinger Saturday afternoon for Support Syria, a fundraiser to help the millions of Syrian refugees without food, water, or shelter. This event, along with International Week, tried to educate students about cultures and traditions around the world. Support Syria focused on bringing awareness to an international crisis.
All of us have kind of sensed that there is a lack of awareness and a lack of education. A lot of people don't even know what's going on in Syria. One of our biggest goals is to not only raise money, but also to spread awareness about what's going on.
At the event, Hamayoun Jamali from Islamic Relief USA explained how we can impact people in Syria through our donations.
This favor that you're doing is a great favor. You're not helping, as I said, lazy people. They're actually very well-educated people.
This event and those of International Week give students a window out of the University of Oregon and into the lives of other cultures. For Duck TV News, I'm Amanda Butt.
International Week wraps up on Friday with bubble tea at the EMU Amphitheater.
Oregon baseball and softball are on a sprint to finish out their regular season, while Duck football has a long summer ahead with plenty to talk about. All this and more coming up with Deuce Woodson and Matt Scotton.
Thanks, Evanitza. Welcome to Duck TV Sports Evening News Edition. I'm Deuce Woodson, and beside me is Matt Scotton. Preseason baseball and softball is on the horizon as Pac-12 play comes to an end. Softball heads to the Grand Canyon State to wrap up their conference play, and baseball is down to 3 series in their season. They look to finish on a high note after an injury-riddled season. Last weekend was filled with an all different assortment of sports. Most notably, football fans gained their fix on Ducks football. So Matt, 4 months until it's acceptable to talk about football again. Let's milk this for everything that it's worth.
Deuce, you're absolutely right. Oregon fans got a chance to see some familiar faces as well as get a preview for the fall. Coach Helfrich said that Oregon still had some kinks to work out before training camp.
But before we talk about the fall, here's some highlights from Saturday's spring game. The Ducks support troops as Team Tuifo and Team Mariosu take the field. Here's the action. Late in the first quarter, Mariota lines up in the gun, cocks back and hits wide open Thomas Tyner for the first touchdown of the game. Mariota finished with 100 yards, passing and 2 touchdowns. For basketball, you would want Johnny Lloyd in your backcourt. In football, not so much. He received the handoff only to get demolished by defensive lineman Tutela. Welcome to football, Johnny. Now, midway through the third quarter, things got tricky. A flea flicker reverse pass left Austin Datch wide open downfield for another Mariosu touchdown. The score at this point was 21-0 Mariosu. The only touchdown came from Team Tufu, came from Darren Carrington. Despite having a dislocated finger, still got both feet down for an amazing catch on this play. Team Mariosu won 27-7, highlighted by wide receiver Devin Allen's 2 touchdowns. Always got a lot of hype, getting a lot of hype going into the spring games. Coach Hufford said it was a sluggish performance overall. One factor that will likely be in the conversation is who separated themselves to be the backup quarterback under Marcus Mariota.
In my opinion, I had a couple great passes from Lockie when he really looked the part. However, it's hard to overlook a couple of those overthrows. There was one, I think, where he got a little excited and just let it go before he got his feet set. Lockie went 7 for 12 and picked up 121 yards and 1 touchdown. Rodriguez looked uncomfortable in the pocket all day. Freshman QBs Hobbs and Alley combined for 89 yards. Things can change between summer workouts, but right now Lockie seems to be the front runner to back up Mariota this fall.
Does Lockie seems as though he has this backup spot on lock. Here's what Coach Hufford had to say about the backup QB battle.
I thought a couple times both of them absolutely, forced it, and that's again human nature of trying to win the job with one throw, and that's the quickest, fastest way to lose it. From a mentality standpoint, those guys are good players, man, and they did a lot of good things during spring, and they wanted to go out and make it happen, and sometimes that isn't how it works.
On the flip side, questions regarding their new defensive identity under first-year defensive coordinator Don Pelham, it seemed as though the questions were answered. I think the defense looked a lot more aggressive than recent years.
Yeah, both defenses looked really good on Saturday. They fought for every loose ball and even came up with a couple turnovers. Even though the defense drew a couple flags, I like to see that tenacity out of them. Next year when they play teams like Michigan State, Stanford, they're going to need their defense to step up. They may not be the biggest team, but if they're the more aggressive team, they'll always give themselves a chance to win.
Oregon football will kick off on August 30th against South Dakota. Football is not the only team that has big games in the future. Softball is swinging up to play the Arizona Wildcats this coming weekend.
That's right, Deuce. Softball's been the best team in the country for the past month. They close out Pac-12 play with a series on the road that has huge implications for postseason play, especially after their last homestand against ASU. Let's catch you up on what you missed last weekend. The Ducks' final homestand of the season was against number 3 ranked Arizona State. Cheyenne Cole sent a solo shot deep to left field and it was not coming back. Sheridan Hawkins needed 5 strikeouts to surpass Jessica Moore's single-season strikeout record. She struck out 10 during her outing on Friday. The Ducks picked up 2 runs in the 4th, but ASU answered with a 3-run 6th inning to take Game 1. However, the Ducks would respond on Saturday. Oregon is a team that is accustomed to scoring runs in bunches, and they did just that, tallying 9 runs in the 2nd inning. Janelle Lindvall got in the action by sending a shot into deep left field to score 2 more runs. The number 1 team in the country was feeling it on Saturday, and the Sun Devils tried to mount a comeback, but 2 runs in the 3rd was not enough, as Oregon run-rolled their 3rd top 5 opponent this season. The series was tied at 1 game apiece, which meant that Sunday's game was for the series. The action didn't really pick up until the 5th inning. Nikki Girard with a monster shot, and it was not coming back, bringing in 2 runs for the Sun Devils, but Jana Takeda would return the favor with 2 RBIs of her own for the Ducks to even the score. The game was called, it rained due to the 6th inning, and was tied at 2. The difference between the 1st and 2nd game was night and day. Oregon hasn't lost a lot this year, but this weekend was a bit of a roller coaster for them. What does this weekend tell you about the Ducks moving forward?
For me, it showed that they have true mental toughness. After a heartbreaking loss on Friday, and the series called a players-only meeting, and the next day they bounced back to score 12 runs on Saturday. I think this is needed for the playoffs because now they can focus on simply winning rather than being perfect. Getting hate in the mouth is a good thing because Arizona is stiff competition, and they will need to understand that the road to Oklahoma does not get easier from here.
My favorite Mike White quote this year is, "Losing is a part of winning." Oregon is looking to take some momentum in their next couple of games. What can we expect from the Arizona series?
This Arizona series is going to be an interesting one. The Wildcats are 27-0 at home, and they've dominated opponents this year in runs and home runs. However, despite the Ducks' ASU slip-up on Friday, they absolutely dominated the number 3 team in the nation, 12-2, making absolute mincemeat of the ASU pitching. The only loss the Ducks have on the road, the Ducks only have 1 loss on the road, but I think they can still manage the slip-up and still see a really competitive series, and they might even pull out a win. And I think they'll be more than prepared for the playoffs. On the other side of the Willamette, baseball is winding down conference play as well. The Ducks have seen tough competition in conference play this year. How do you think the Pac-12 is looking as a whole?
While the Pac-12 may not be the best conference in baseball, it's still among the cream of the crop. Anytime you judge a conference, the first thing you have to take into account is how good the top of the conference is. Well, you have 2 of the best teams in the nation in Oregon State and Washington. Next thing is how does the middle to bottom of the pack look? Arizona sits near the bottom of the Pac-12, but they also lead the Pac-12 in batting average. In my opinion, there's not a lot of teams that are an easy out in the conference. We're probably going to see about 3 teams from the conference in regionals trying to make their case for Omaha.
Now, you mentioned regionals. Do you see a Pac-12 team possibly winning it all?
Yes, the Oregon State Beavers are one of the team's best, and the Ducks found this out last time they tried to go to Corvallis. I think the wake-up call for the Beavers was when they lost to Sacramento State and they came back with an 8-1 victory the next day. In my opinion, their pitching staff is performing the best they have all season right now, and right now is exactly when you need to do it. Look for Oregon State to make a deep run into the College World Series.
And that just about does it for sports this week. Alexis, we had one sport that was rained out. Will UO students see more sunshine than they did last week, or would it be back to normal with rain and wind?
Well, Deuce, it's not looking too bright until later on in the weekend. Starting off in Eugene, there will be highs in the upper 50s with lows in the mid 40s, warming up on Sunday to 64 with partly cloudy skies, which will lead us into a warm, sunny week for week 7. Now, if we take a look at this graphical forecast, we can see that there is about a 60% chance of rain across the state on Friday, especially in Eugene and Corvallis. If you head up to Portland this weekend, the weather will be looking quite the same, except for a sharp increase in temperature on Sunday with a high of 67. Now, that will be perfect for celebrating your mom on Mother's Day. Heading over to the coast, we will again be seeing similar weather with just slightly cooler temperatures. Next week will be especially warm for the coast, with Tuesday reaching 71 degrees. Now back to the newsroom for the rest of tonight's headlines.
Thanks, Alexis. Well, if that spring weather is causing your allergies to act up, there's good news. There may be a holistic approach that can help. Eating local honey may gradually decrease your sensitivity to allergens. Although it's not scientifically proven, many have seen great success during allergy season. If you're thinking about trying this home remedy, check out the Eugene Saturday Market for local honey vendors.
Eugene's own craft beer is expanding to Nevada supermarkets and restaurants. A $23 million expansion of local facilities has allowed the company to be sold in 7 states so far. The company is looking forward to enter the craft beer scene in Nevada. They believe that it will be a fun market and a great way to get exposure. Ninkasi Brewing Company was founded in Eugene in 2007. It is the 3rd largest craft brewer in Oregon. Ninkasi is keeping its eyes on Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona for future expansion.
Thanks for joining us tonight on Duck TV Evening News. I'm Avanitza de Primavera.
And I'm Victoria Ganal. Have a great night.